Chris Broussard still with us. Chris, are you buying LeBron's explanation for why the two Utah stars were the last two picked here?
I'm definitely buying it. Look, we know who LeBron's biggest idol was, who his inspiration was when he was coming up. It was Michael Jordan. So you know LeBron had no use for the Utah Jazz when he was coming up. So I definitely buy that. You can see KD bought it as well. But Skip, you mentioned LeBron earlier playing mind games. And this is where I think the mind games came in. He's hearing, like the rest of us, all about the Utah Jazz. Oh, they got the best record in the league. They're a contender. They move the ball so well. They make the extra pass. The analytics writers love them. They're an analytic guy's dream. He's hearing all of that. And I think he wanted to send them a message. Man, we don't believe in y'all. This is about basketball at the end of the day. This is about what you're going to do on the court. Mano a mano. You can take all that analytic stuff. We don't believe y'all got hoopers. And I think he's planting a seed for if they meet the Jazz in the playoffs, putting some doubt in their minds. You know, and Rudy Gobert, I think, can be made to doubt himself. All right, so I think that's what LeBron was doing, planting a seed in there. We know how much impact and influence LeBron has in the league. Guys look up to him. They listen to what he says. So I do think he was playing mind games with the Jazz, especially when he said, toward the end of the draft, he was like, you know what? I need some size. I think everybody on the planet thought he was going to take Rudy Gobert at that point. And he goes, give me Domantas Sabonis, who was a late addition to the All-Star team. I mean, that just added insult to injury. So it was bad. So I think this is a mind game LeBron was playing. And I will say this, guys. I'm not surprised about Gobert. I mentioned earlier, he's not going to do anything in an up-and-down three-point shooting All-Star game. But Donovan Mitchell, that was some disrespect that I didn't see coming. And I'm shocked that he went so low. As I mentioned guys that went before PG-13, Zach LaVine before Donovan Mitchell. And I know Zach can play, and Julius Randle can play and all this stuff. But before Donovan Mitchell, who's leading his team to the best record in the league, major disrespect for the Utah Jazz. And I think LeBron was giving them a little something to think about when they meet in May or June.
Look, he's right. Nobody played with Utah growing up. It's like now, when they play these man games, Skip, who they playing with? They playing with Lamar Jackson. They grabbed Lamar Jackson. He might not be the best, but when the Michael Vick experience, everybody played with the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons were not winning Super Bowls, but they had the more electrifying players. Everybody has always looked at the Utah. Yes, they won, but they were very boring. They pick and roll you to death, kind of like what they do now. Now they kind of morphed into, Donovan Mitchell, Mike Conley driving, kicking to those three guys. But when I look at LeBron's roster, he already had Dame. He had Luka, he had Steph, he had CP3, he had Ben Simmons. Did he really need another guard? And then he had Jaylen Brown. So I'm trying to tell you, so over Steph, Dame, Luka, CP3, Ben Simmons, Donovan Mitchell supposed to be in over who? Exactly. And Chris, you hit the nail on the head. Big guys, when all they do is dunk the ball or shoot threes, how does Rudy Gobert ain't going to be by the time Rudy Gobert get the rebound and pass it, they're going to be done shot a three or somebody going to be on dunked it before he got to half court. So I get Donovan Mitchell maybe being upset, but what? Skip? I mean, LeBron, you look at LeBron's guard roster, it's like, who is he going to go in front of? Who you taking off? You're not taking him over Steph. You're not taking him over Dame. You're not taking him over Luka. You're not taking him over Ben Simmons or CP3. Maybe Jaylen Brown? Okay, you want to say he goes for Jaylen Brown. So instead of being second to the last, he'd have been third to last. Really?
That would have been better. I bet that would have made him feel better.
Allow me to say there have been many, many nights as I watch NBA games when I thought Donovan Mitchell was much better than a guy I've often referred to as George Paul as opposed to Paul George. Paul George has never been anything but a complimentary star. And Donovan, in flashes and bursts, looks like a superstar. But to both your points, when push came to shove last night, it was just reverberating disrespect to not only Donovan, but obviously Rudy Gobert. What is he, a two-time Defensive Player of the Year?
Two.
Yeah, because the problem with Donovan is, as much as I have loved him, as much as I loved him as a rookie, remember we went back and forth, Shannon, you and I, about Donovan Mitchell versus Ben Simmons for Rookie of the Year. And yet, every time I try to buy completely into Donovan, he throws a 5 of 22 at me, and he can be wildly erratic, wildly inconsistent with his superstar play. Obviously, he got on a roll against Jamal Murray, and those two kids just lit up the bubble night after night after night in that shootout of a series. But then there'll be other times when Donovan just disappears, and I don't get it. I don't think LeBron gets it. I don't think Kevin Durant gets it. And so they're both just shrugging at Donovan Mitchell, falling all the way to the bottom of this barrel. And I'm with both of you, and especially with Chris. I think the whole league is sitting back looking at Utah saying, hey, look, they've made the most threes so far in the first half of the season because they have taken the most threes. So they are living and dying by the three, and they've been hot for most of the whole first half. Even in the recent games they lost at New Orleans and Philly, they still shot the heck out of the three. But the defense has carried them. They've been ranked second overall to the Lakers in defensive efficiency, and yet nobody buys Gobert because we just saw back-to-back games in which both Zion and Joel Embiid basically just bullied him. That they just don't have great respect for him. They think they can terrorize a 7'2" guy who's not the physically strongest or mentally toughest guy out there. And to Chris's point, that they think he'll fold under fire, and sometimes he does. So nobody is afraid of the Utah Jazz, yet they end up the first half with, what are they, 27-9? They're 27-9. They're 2.5 games clear of anybody in the West or the East, and nobody has any respect for them. So if, it's like, are you men or mice? Because they just got challenged last night, and we will see how they respond to that challenge through the second half and going into the playoffs, because if they're made of anything of substance, they will respond well to this.
But for the people that are saying Donovan Mitchell got different, Chris, I want to, before you go, Chris, I want to ask, for the people that are saying Donovan Mitchell's getting disrespected, so I'm going to say some guards. Are you going to take him, or are you going to take Luka, Dame, Steph Curry, D-Book, Bradley Beal, James Harden, Kyrie Irving? Of those guys, who you taking off and going putting Donovan Mitchell in front of?
Well, Shannon.
Nobody.
Yeah, but the obvious answer is Pandemic P. You take Donovan Mitchell over Pandemic P, who's been a fourth quarter disaster in the last 4 nights.
Skip, hold on. But he played for your guy. He played for your team, and you want to take...
Shannon, remember, KD took Zach LaVine and Julius Randle over Donovan Mitchell. I hear you. I mean, maybe you could try to argue Devin Booker if you want, but I like Book. They're both pretty much similar. But the question, Skip, you said it. What are the Utah Jazz made of? Because we saw when they were up 3-1 over Denver, and all of a sudden people started expecting them, okay, this team is really good. They folded. And now even, I don't want to make too much out of the last couple of weeks, but I believe they've lost 4 of their last 7. So people have been talking about them and hyping them up and how good they are. And now all of a sudden expectations brings pressure. Are they really that good? It's going to be interesting to watch them over the second half, because you're right. They have raised the bar, and now all eyes are on them. And they're trying to do something we just haven't seen done. Even, they don't have superstars. They don't have one. So you can't even compare them to the Dallas team that beat LeBron in 2011. At least they had Dirk Nowitzki, and they had older stars like Jason Kidd and guys like that. You go back to Detroit in 2004, that beat the Shaq Kobe Lakers. I mean, Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton, Rasheed Wallace, Ben Wallace, those weren't superstars, but they were all stars. This Utah team is trying to do it with a different formula that hasn't been done. And so I think that's part of why people aren't really buying into him either, other than these analytics guys who want to point to all their ball movement and all that stuff.
So real quick, last point of order for Chris.
Go ahead.
In 2011, the Mavericks didn't beat the Heat. LeBron beat the Heat.
Oh,
Am I right?
hey, Chris.
They should have won.
Chris.
They had him. They had him.
They had him.
That was-
he didn't get it
That
done.
was just
yeah.
that same. Hold up. You know that's the same Mavericks team that beat the two-time defending champ Lakers, swept them. They took. What did they do to Oklahoma City? Took them apart. What did they do to the Spurs? Took them apart. But now, LeBron, I forgot about that. So we ain't gonna talk about what they did to Kobe and Pau Gasol. The two-time defending champs swept them.
I thought LeBron was the
My
GOAT.
bad. I forgot that.
But you know, Shannon.
No, you told me at that
Miami
time it was
should've won
Kobe.
that series.
Yes.
They relaxed.
But
When they went up 2-1,
don't make it.
they had that.
No, they relaxed in game one when they had that 16-point lead and they let the Mavericks come back and win. They relaxed in game one. They should have won that series 4-1.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.